Good evening. Good evening, Amal Krishna. Hello, Khatija. I think it's streaming live. We can begin now, right?
Yes, ma'am. Start
Okay.
now.
All right. Thank you. I'll share my screen. Let me know if you can see. Okay, great. Okay. So before we begin with today's questions, there were just a couple of questions left in the overheads topic. So we will look at those questions today and complete this topic for today. Yeah. But before we get into the topic, I just wanted to take a few minutes, like probably 5-10 minutes, and summarize what we did exactly in the last session. So if you can see my screen, I have shared an Excel where I have summarized all the topics that we did. So if you begin with the first thing that we looked into in the previous session was how to allocate the service department costs within the production departments. So if you can see, for example, if we have two service departments, also please let me know if I'm too fast or too slow. I will accordingly change my speed for your convenience. So please let me know in the chat box if I'm speaking as per your understanding. Yeah, thank you. So the first part that we looked into was the allocation of service departments with the production department. So if you have like two service departments, let's say service department A with a cost of 1,000 rupees and service department B with a cost of 2,000 rupees, we learned how to allocate these costs into the different production departments. So here I have, for simplicity purpose, I have taken a ratio of 1:1. So we have allocated service department A's cost between the two production departments as 500 and 500, and for service department B, the 2,000 rupees as equal cost between department 1 and department 2 as 1,000 rupees each. So this will help us get the total production department overhead cost, because the production department is the final department that produces the final product. So that is the first thing that we learned about how to allocate the service department cost to the production department based on the ratio that is given. The second thing we learned is how to calculate a predetermined absorption rate. A predetermined absorption rate is always calculated on the basis of your budgeted hours and your budgeted overhead cost. This is something you should always remember. That's how a predetermined rate is calculated. And this predetermined rate is then multiplied with your actual output to be absorbed into the good units of the final product. So how do we calculate? Is there a doubt so far? Please let me know in the chat box if there are any doubts and if I can proceed. All good? Okay. So we have the production department one, for example, with total budgeted hours of 500. And we have a budgeted overhead cost of 1,500 rupees, for example. So this 1,500 rupees is divided by the budgeted hours of 500 to arrive at the predetermined overhead absorption rate. Then how do we utilize this predetermined absorption rate? We look at the actual hours that was taken to produce that particular output. So like for example, over here bottles took 200 hours to be produced. So this 3 rupees of the predetermined overhead rate is multiplied with the actual hours, and 600 rupees is allocated to the bottles. Are we good so far? Can I please know in the chat box if everybody's following till here? Is there any doubt so far? Okay, thank you, Fawaz. How about the others? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Alina. Okay, so let's proceed. So you have understood how we calculated the predetermined rate, then we absorb it with the actual output hours, and we find the overhead that has been absorbed. The next thing that we learned was how do we calculate the under absorption or the over absorption amount. So here we can see that the overhead that is absorbed is 600 rupees that we just calculated above. Then we look at what was the actual overhead that was um, incurred, because I remember I had spoken in the last lecture that sometimes the repair cost might be more than what was expected, or the light cost could be more than what is expected. You don't exactly know what's the actual expense that will be incurred, is that you know it only at a later point. So you get to know that, there's an actual expense of 700. So you get to know that the under absorbed, the amount that has been under absorbed here is 700 minus 600, which is 100 rupees. So what is your next step? Your next step is to absorb this 100 rupees into the good units. How do we do that? So there is something called as the calculation of the supplementary rate. How is the supplementary rate calculated? So you get to see what is the actual hours that was used for the absorption. So 200 hours were the actual hours. Like if you see above, the actual hours used for the bottles, correct? Now, what is the under absorbed amount? It's 100 rupees. Like 100 rupees is yet to be absorbed. So this is a very simple example of how we calculate supplementary rate. When we do today's questions, there will be different ways of which you can calculate supplementary rate. But here I'm just trying to explain how it is getting absorbed into the good units. So hours used for absorption is 200. That is the actual hours. Then we have the under absorbed amount. That is the actual under absorbed amount. And then we calculate the supplementary rate, which is nothing but the under absorbed amount divided by the hours used for absorption. So that is 100 divided by 200, which will give us a 0.5 rupees of supplementary rate. So what do we do with this 0.5 rupees? Nothing. We just go and absorb the supplementary rate into the cost that is already calculated. So if you look here, the overhead absorbed so far in the bottles was 600 rupees. Like I showed you here, it was 600 rupees. Now we inflate the amount. That 100 rupees needs to get added, right? So we multiply the 0.5 rupees of supplementary rate with the actual hours, and we get to an amount of 100 rupees, which is the under absorbed amount. And then the total final cost of the bottles will sum up to 700 rupees. So this is, in a summary, in a nutshell, what we had done in the previous class. So if everybody is okay with what I have explained now, if you have any doubts, any questions, please let me know before I begin with the questions, because today's questions will be more detailed, more intense. So if anybody has any confusion with the concepts here, please stop me now and let me know in the chat box if you have any doubts. Otherwise, I shall proceed. So please let me know if I can proceed otherwise. Any doubts? Any questions with the supplementary rate or with the... Okay, thank you, Dia. Thank you, Ranjita. How about the others? Okay. Okay, great. So I think we are clear with the concepts, and we can... Is somebody speaking, because I'm not able to hear you well? Okay. So I think we're good here. So let's begin with today's questions. Does everybody have the PowerPoints ready with them, which I shared today? Please let me know in the chat box. Does everybody have the highlighted PowerPoint presentation with them? Please let me know. Because I would want all of you to have the questions ready in hand. I think somebody's mic is on mute.
Recording in progress.
Does everyone have the PPT? Okay. If there's anybody who doesn't have it, please coordinate with Rizwan because I have shared it with him. I can see that most of you have it. Okay. So great then. And for those who don't have it, maybe you can just take a screenshot of what I'm showing and keep it ready with you on the side. All right. Okay then. So let's begin with today's session with the first question, illustration 9. So let's read the question. In an engineering company, the factory overheads are recovered on a fixed percentage basis on direct wages, and the admin overheads are absorbed on a fixed percentage basis on the factory cost. The company has furnished the following data relating to two jobs undertaken by it in a period. So we have two jobs, job 101 and job 102. The direct materials 5437, direct wages 4230, selling price 1,66,650 and 1,28,250. Profit percentage on total cost. Please note it's on the total cost is 10% and 20%. What is required? Computation of the percentage recovery rates of factory overheads and admin overheads. The next thing is calculation of the amount of factory overheads, admin overheads, and profit for each of the two jobs. Using the above recovery rates, determine the selling price of job 103 with this additional data being direct material 24,000, direct wages 20,000, profit percentage on selling price 12.5%. Okay, so lots of information. Let's break it down. If you see, the first paragraph is talking about what is the basis on which the predetermined rate will be calculated. The predetermined overhead rate is calculated. So the first paragraph is talking about how the overhead is calculated. So if you see, in an engineering company, the factory overheads is calculated as a fixed percentage of the direct wages, and the admin overheads are absorbed on a fixed percentage of the factory cost. And one more thing to note here is that the total cost is not given. However, we've been given the selling price and we've been given the profit percentage on the total cost. So to begin with, the first thing that we'll have to calculate is the total cost from here, because we can see that we have the selling price and we have the profit percentage on the total cost. So with a reverse working, we can calculate the total cost from this information. And from that total cost, we can go ahead and calculate these missing figures. So if you open the Excel sheet that I have shared for illustration 9, so this will give you a brief idea about what a cost sheet is. The cost sheet will include your direct material, which let's say is A, your direct wages, which is B, your factory overheads in this case, which is a percentage of your direct wages. We don't know what is the percent, so let's keep that as F% into B, which is your direct wages. Then we have our factory cost. Factory cost is the direct material plus direct wages plus the factory overhead. So that's A plus B plus the F% of B, which is the direct wages. Then we have the administration overhead. The administration overhead, again, it is a percentage of the factory cost. Let's say the factory cost is C. Admin overhead becomes A%, because we don't know what the percent is, of C. And then we get the total cost, which is C, is the factory cost, plus the admin overhead, which is C plus B. So now what we're going to be calculating is this total cost. So has everyone understood this cost sheet and what we mean by F% and A% and what we are trying to find out here? Is everybody comfortable with this cost sheet right now? Please let me know in the comments. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Ma'am, what is X%? Okay, X%, my bad. Let me change that to F. Is it clear? Is it fine now? Good question. Is it fine now, Amal Krishna? Okay. So this is what you need to remember before approaching the question. So now let's go into the calculation of the total cost of the job. This is part of a working note. Can you just say it once again? Okay. So Tawfiq, this is our cost sheet. Before we get into the question, you will have to just understand a brief okay, no worries, Tawfiq. I'll just repeat it quickly once. So when you try to understand a cost sheet, you just have to understand what it forms. The first thing will be your direct material, which is, let's say, A. I'm just giving you dummy figures here. The direct wages, which is B. Then the factory overheads, in the question, it says it's a percentage of the direct wages. So let's keep the percentage as F% of direct wages. Then we have the factory cost. The factory cost will be A plus B plus F% of B. And let's keep that as C, because we'll just give it a figure. And then we have the admin overhead, which is added to the factory cost, which is A% of C. Let's keep that as B. Why A% of C? Because the question says so. And then our total cost will be factory cost plus the admin overhead, which is C plus D. Is it okay now, Tawfiq? Still some confusion, Tawfiq? Please let me know. What's the confusion? Is there one specific point which you want me to repeat again? Okay, great. So all clear. So we are clear with what the cost sheet is. So now let's go into the question. The first thing that we need to calculate is F% means factory overhead. Okay. F% is not factory overhead. If we go back to the question, it says factory overheads is a fixed percentage on the direct wages. So F is the percentage of the wages that will give us the factory overheads. Is that clear, Khatija? Similarly, A is the percent of the factory cost, which will give us the administration overhead. Clear? Because if you see the question, it is absorbed on a percentage of the factory cost. Okay. We're clear with the cost sheet. Now let's go into the calculation of the total cost of the job. How do we calculate the total cost of the job? Job 101 and 102, we already have two things, selling price and profit percentage. I'm sure you know how we do the reverse working. If the cost is X, profit is 10% of X. So X plus 10% of X is 166,650. So what will be X? X will be 16650 divided by 110%. So let's simplify it and put it in a equation so that you understand it better. Let's begin. The selling price is equal to what? Total cost plus profit, right? Please solve the question along with me, and whoever gets the answers can put it in the chat box. Right. So selling price is equal to the total cost plus profit. So we have the selling price as 166,650. We have the total cost, which is there a doubt? Hello. Okay. So total cost is X plus 10% of X, or you can say 0.1X. Correct? So now what is that? 166,650 is equal to 1.1X. So X is equal to 166,650 divided by 1.1. Is everybody clear till here? Has everybody arrived at the total cost as 151,500? Okay. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Let's move on to job 02. Please proceed with the next one. Those who have already arrived at the answer. Ma'am, can you repeat? Okay. So now, you know that total cost is X. and you know that the profit is 10% of X. X plus 10% of X is equal to the selling price. Is everybody clear with this? Total cost plus the profit is equal to selling price. Everybody is clear? Okay. X plus 10% of X is equal to selling price. So X plus 10% of X is 1.1X. 1.1X is equal to 16650. X is equal to 16650 divided by 1.1. That will give me 151500. Clear? Okay, perfect. So please proceed with the job 102. Again, you know, thank you, Ranjita. That was quick. Let's see if that's the right answer. So we know that, let's get directly into the sum. 128. Okay, Sanha has also got the same answer, so it should be right. So 128250 is equal to Y plus 0.2, which is 20% of Y. So we have 128250 equal to 1.2 Y. So Y is equal to 128250 divided by 1.2, which is 106875. So everybody has gotten this answer. Perfect. I see many students getting the correct answer. Very good. Anybody else who has any confusion here or any doubt here, please let me know. Perfect. I think everybody's clear with this. So let's proceed with the next part, which is basically the question now. So what the question needs us to find out is the percentage recovery rate. Basically, these percentages is what we need to find out, the F% and the A%. So if we go to setting the variables, right? What we can do is we can give the factory overhead percentage as F. We'll just give it a variable, right? And for the admin overhead percentage, we will give it as A. So let the rate at which factory overhead is absorbed be F, and rate at which administration overhead is absorbed be A. Okay, let's just give it some variables here. Are we clear till here? Okay. Now let's proceed with calculating F and A. How do we do that? We know that factory overhead is a percentage of direct wages, right? How can we, okay, by the way, direct material and direct wages is given in the question. So that's why I'm proceeding directly to the factory overhead. For job 101, direct material is given to be 54,000. Direct wages is given to be 42,000. So factory overhead will be equal to 42,000 into F. Correct? Is everybody clear till here? Sorry, 42,000. And for job 102, it will be 30,000 into F. Is everybody following me? Please let me know if I need to repeat anything. Okay, I'm proceeding. So the factory cost will become 54,000 plus 42,000 plus 42,000 into F. So that will be 54 plus 42 is coming to 96,000. That will be 96,000 plus 42,000 into F. Okay. And for job 102, it will be 67,500 into, sorry, plus 30,000 F. All clear? Okay. Now administration cost is a percentage of the factory cost. So how do we do that? 96,000 plus 42,000 F, which is our factory cost. Let's put that in brackets. Into A. because A is the percentage on which the administration cost will be calculated. This will be 67,500 plus 30,000 F into A. All clear? Any confusion so far? Okay. So what is our total cost? Our total cost is factory cost plus administration cost, which will be 96,000 plus 42,000 F plus, we can just try to copy this. This is our administration cost, and we can do plus administration cost. Similarly, we have 67,500 plus 30,000 F plus the admin cost will give me the total cost. Is everybody clear till here? Has everybody arrived till here? Okay, all clear. So no doubt so far, right? Okay, great. So now what do? We solve the equation. We have already found the total cost here and here. So let's take the first equation. Ma'am, last total cost. See, total cost is what? Factory cost plus admin cost, right? Factory cost is nothing but DM plus DW plus factory overheads. So we're just adding everything up and we're coming at total cost. So 96,000 plus 42,000 F plus 96,000 plus 42,000 F into A. That will give me my total cost. Clear? So now let's put these equations and total it to the total cost. So let's put these equations here. And we have already found that job 101's total cost is 151,500 and job 102's is 106,875. So this will be my equation 1 and this will be my equation 2. So now it is just mathematics, open the brackets and try to solve it. But what we can do is first, so first let's open the brackets. So how do we do that? Let's talk about equation 1. So equation 1 will be 151,500 is equal to 96,000 plus 42,000 F plus 96,000 A plus, I'm opening the brackets, okay, plus 42,000 AF. Correct? I hope everybody is following. Next equation, so let's solve this equation more. We'll get 42,000. Okay, so what we can do is we can keep the equation as it is because to solve it, it will become easier. So keep it as it is, the equation 1. And the second equation is 106,875 is equal to 67,500 plus 30,000 F plus 67,500 A plus 30,000 AF. All clear till here? Opening of the equations. Okay. So now what is the solution to this is we can multiply our equation 1 by 5 and we can multiply equation 2 by 7. right? So this way, we can knock off both f of the equations and af of the equations. So if we try to remove these two, because we have multiple variables here. So if you use a little logic, you can see that 42,000 and 30,000, 42,000, 30,000 is the same. So we'll have to try to bring it to the same amount so that when we minus the two equations, we can nullify both the amounts. So now if I multiply 42,000 into 5, I get 2,10,000. And if I multiply 30,000 into 7, I'll again get 2,10,000. So this way, when I minus the two equations, it will nullify the two amounts. So let's do that. Let's multiply the first equation by 5 and the second equation by 7. So what do we get here? 151, 500 into 5 is equal to, let's see, 96,000 into 5, 4,80,000 plus 2,10,000, which we have already calculated above, plus 4,80,000 A plus 2,10,000 AF. Okay, so this will become our first equation by multiplying it with 5. The second equation will become 106,875 into 7, which is 748,125. Then 67,500 into 7 will give us 4,72,500 plus 30,000 we already know will give us 2,10,000. This is F over here. I think I've missed the F here. Plus 67,500 into 7, which is 4,72,500 A plus 2,10,000 AF. So we have just multiplied the first equation with 5 and the second equation by 7. Has everybody understood this? Does anybody have a confusion by from anything here right now? Okay, clear, perfect. So just to understand how we got 5 and 7, you can also, if you remember the LCM approach, so taking out the common factors from both, right? So that way it will become easier as well to understand what you can multiply it by. Okay, so let's see, because if you take 6 as the common factor, you will be left with 7 here and 5 here. Correct. So if you multiply 5 with this and 7 with this, you will get the 2,10,000. Okay. So now proceeding with the solving of the equation. So let's subtract the two equations. This will be 7,57,500 minus 7,48,125, which will give then this will be 4,80,000 minus 472,500. So that will be 4,80,000 minus 4,72,500. That will be 7,500 plus this will become 0. 2 lakh. Ma'am, can I get your number so that I can message you while studying this class? Yes, sure. Perfect. I will just send that to you. Okay, no worries. I hope you've received it. Okay, so coming back to our question, then we have 4,80,000 minus 4,72,500, which will become 7,500 A. So A will be equal to Okay, Ranjita has got 0.25. Perfect. Let's see what the answer is. 9375 minus 7500 divided by 7500, which is 0.25, or in other words, 25%. So great job, Ranjita and Sanha. How about the others? Has everybody arrived at this percentage for A? Has everybody arrived at this? Okay. Okay, great. Great, perfect. So I think everybody is following here. So now again, we will solve for F. So let's put 0.25 in any of the equations. Let's take this equation, for example. So putting the equation and finding F. So that will become, how do you say, 106,875 is equal to 67,500 plus, please repeat that. Which part, Khatija? Can you let me know which part exactly? After the multiplication. After the multiplication, we have only subtracted the two equations. Let me mention it clear. So we are subtracting equation 1 by equation 2. So 7575 minus 7481, 480 minus 475, so on and so forth. Then we are left with this. Okay. Now we are finding F. So we are putting the value found of A in the equation 2. So let's see what we arrive at. So that will be 67,500 plus 30,000 F plus 67,500 into A. A is 0.25. 67,500 into 0.25. 16875. 16875 plus 30,000 into A, 0.25. So 30,000 into 0.25. 7,500 F. Is everybody comfortable with how I found this, or do you want me to show how I found it? Is everybody comfortable? Okay. Please let me know if you want me to show the formula. So 106,875. And if anybody has found the value of F, you can put it in the chat box. So let's see, 67,500. Okay. 0.6, I have got an answer, 16,875, which is 84,375. 84,375 plus 37,500 F. So F should be equal to 106,875 minus 84,375 divided by 37,500. 37,500, which should be 106,875 minus 84,375 divided by 37,500, which gives me 0.6, which is equal to 60%. Well done to everybody who has found the answers. I hope everybody has followed along with this question. All good so far? Shall I proceed? Any questions, any doubts? Thank you, Sana. How about the others? Okay, great. So now the question is very simple. We just have to find the cost sheet for job 101 and 102. Like I explained in the beginning, this is the cost sheet, correct? DM plus DW plus factory overheads. We just put all the figures that we have found out in a proper Excel format, in a statement format, and find the total selling price. We just have to put the figures. So let's begin. Direct wages. You can start filling it as well. Direct material. So this is there in the question already, which is 54,000. For job 102, it is 37,500. Direct wages, it's given to be 42,000 and 30,000 for job 102. So prime cost comes to 96,000 and 67,500. Prime cost is direct material plus direct wages. That's your prime cost. Then we have something called as factory overheads. So now we have gotten factory overheads as 60% of our direct wages. So that will be 60% of direct wages. So 6.6 into direct wages of 42,000, 25,200. For job 102, it will be 18,000. Next, we get the factory cost. Factory cost is prime cost plus factory overheads. So 121,200 and here 185,500. Then we have something called the administrative overheads. Administrative overheads. Administrative overheads is what? Can somebody tell me in the chat box? Can somebody tell me the formula for administrative overheads? We just found it out, right? The percentage. Can somebody tell me in the chat box? Anyone? 25% of factory cost. Perfect, Sana. Thank you. Ranjit, thank you for that percentage of factory cost. So we have found the percentage to be 25%. Exactly. Good one, Khatija. So that will be, okay, Sana has given the answer. So let's see whether that's the right answer. It will be 25% of the factory cost. So if you put the formula, it will be 0.25 into the factory cost of 121,200, which is 30,300. Perfect, Sana. And for job 102, it comes to 21,375. Then you find the total cost, which is the factory cost plus the administrative overheads, 151,500. And this should match with the cost that we have found above. You know, we have actually found these amounts already, right? Then we go to the profit. We know profit is 10% of total cost given in the question, and this is 20% of total cost, which is coming to 21,375. Total cost will be this plus this, which is 166650 and 128,250. I think this is very straightforward. The only thing we've done is we've put the values into place. That's all. I don't think there should be much confusion. Please let me know if everyone is clear so far. So the next part of the question is to find the selling price for job 103. Here they have just changed the direct material, direct wages. So nothing, we just have to use the different values, but we'll use the same percentage, 60% and 25% for factory overheads and admin overheads. So you guys also can quickly find it out in your calculators. I will also put it down here. Direct material is given to be 24,000. Direct wages is given to be 20,000. Time cost comes to 44,000, right? Then we have the factory overheads. Factory overheads is nothing but 0.6 into 50% of direct wages, which will come to 12,000. That will give me the factory cost, which is prime cost plus factory overhead. So that will give me the factory cost. Then we have the admin overheads. Admin overheads will be 25% of factory cost, which is 14,000. So this gives me a total cost of 56,000 plus 14,000. Profit of So profit is given to thee. Here it is on selling price, right? We can't take it on cost. This is the catch. So we find the selling price and then we have to do a back working here. So we know that profit is equal to 12.5% of selling price, which is X. So if I just have to like quickly summarize it, total cost plus profit is equal to selling price. Here, total cost we know is 70,000 plus profit is 12.5% of X. What is X here? X will become my selling price. Okay. So how do I find X now? So X will be, so we can do X minus 0.125. X is equal to 70,000. So X will be nothing but 70, oops, will be 70,000 divided by 1 minus 0.125, which is 0.875, which will give me 80,000, right? Is everybody okay with this? Have they all got the selling price as 80,000? Okay, so what will be my profit? It will be my balancing figure, selling price minus cost. Is this okay, everybody? In the previous one, profit was a percentage of cost. Here, profit is a percentage of selling price. So it's quick. You just do this. You explain again. Which part, Anjali? The profit part? Which part exactly, Anjali? Do you want me to explain the selling price calculation? Okay. So the question has it that profit percentage on selling price is 12.5%. Correct? Let's take selling price as X. 12 point, so profit will become 12.5% of X. So 70,000 plus 12.5% of X will give me X, which is the selling price. Then I bring 12.5 to one side of X and I get X minus 0.125. X is equal to 70,000. And then X I will just divide as 80,000 divided by 1 minus 0.125. 1 minus 0.125 is 0.875 divided by 0.875. This is the calculation. 70,000. So that will give me X as 80,000. Is it clear, Anjali? X, which is my selling price. Okay. So let's proceed now with the next question. I hope this is clear. Let's proceed with the next question. Oh, it's already quite a lot of time. We still have more questions to do. Okay. So, okay, 1 second, sorry. Okay, can everybody see my screen? So here we have a question which talks about, again, overhead costing. A machine shop has 8 identical drilling machines manned by 6 operators. The machine cannot be worked without an operator wholly engaged on it. The original cost of these machines, the original cost of all these machines work out to 8 lakhs. These particulars are furnished for a 6 months period. Please note 6 months period. Normal available hours per month, this is per month, is 208. Absenteeism without pay hours is 18. So unpaid basically. Leave with pay, paid. So ours is 20 hours. Normal idle time, unavoidable hours. So it will be 10 hours. Average rate of wages per worker for 8 hours a day is 800 rupees. So we will have to back work and calculate for 1 hour per day. Production bonus estimated is 15% on wages. Value of power 80,500 supervision. So this is all for 6 months. Okay. Then These particulars are for a year. Repairs and maintenance, including consumables, is 3% of the value of machine. So this is for a year. Okay. Insurance 40,000, depreciation 10% of the original cost. Other sundry works expenses is 12,000 rupees. General management expenses allocated is 54,530. You are required to compute a comprehensive machine hour rate for the machine shop. So please understand what is the requirement of the question. The requirement of the question is calculation of the machine hour rate. So what we can see is how many machines are there. There are a total of 8 identical drilling machines, correct? Just a minute, just give me a minute. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to find the total cost of that machine shop, and we will have to divide it by the effective hours of that machine shop. So look at the question. It has given you 3 details. One, details about the wages. How will you calculate the wages for that machine shop? Second is some overhead costs directly for the 6 months period. Third, we have the cost for the year, right? Which we'll have to again divide it by 2, because we need everything to be aligned and standard. You can't have one part of the cost for 6 months and the other part for a year, right? So everything should come down to 1. So what we can do is we can calculate the hours for 6 months first. We can calculate the effective hours for the 6 months period. So let's go to the answers. Okay. So the first thing that we'll calculate is the effective working hours. So before we get into the answer, just to give you an understanding of why we're doing this, we need to calculate the machine hour rate in the question. And machine hour rate is budgeted overhead cost divided by budgeted effective hours. Okay, we need only effective hours. We don't need total hours. We need the effective hours. So how do we calculate the effective hours? So first is, what is your total hours that is available? We go back to the question. We have 208 hours for a month. So for 6 months, we will have 208 hours into 6 months. And we have how many operators? 6 operators. So into 6. So that will be equal to 208. Let's put it like this. 208 hours into 6 months, because this is for 1 month, into 6 operators. That will give me 208 into 6 into 6. This is my total available hours for the month. Everybody clear? Yeah. Okay. Then what will we reduce from this? We will reduce the absent hours, because these hours again, they are not present. So what is the absent hours given to be? Absent hours is given to be 18 hours per 18 hours for the 6 months. Here it is for this, because here specifically per month is mentioned. Here nothing is mentioned. So this 18 hours is for the entire 6 months. So it will be 18 hours into 6 operators, which will be 18 into 6. Okay. So what will be my hours for which we are paid? We are not paid for the absent hours. So it will be 7488 minus 108. But again, there is further hours which is they are not working, but they are paid for. What is this hours? There's something called as the leave pay, for the leave pay of 20 hours and the normal idle time of 10 hours. So let's reduce that as well. Less is idle time, which is 10 hours into 6 operators, 10 into 6. Then we have less leave pay, leave time, which is 20 hours into 6 operators, which will give me 20 into 6. So what is my effective hours now? 7380 minus the idle time minus the 120 hours. So this is the effective time that the worker is actually working. Other all time, there is no effective productivity happening because the worker is not working only. So whenever we calculate the predetermined overhead rate, we have to consider only the effective working hours. We cannot be considering total hours or paid hours. We have to consider the effective working hours. I hope this is clear, right? So we have arrived at the effective working hours. Now, another working note that I had told you was we have given the average rate per worker as for 8 hours a day, right? Now we need it for 7,002, sorry, average rate of wages. So the wages is paid for 8 hours at 800 rupees. But can somebody tell me whether the hours for which the workers will be paid for is 7380 or 7200? Perfect, Ranjit. 7380. Can you tell me why? And how about the others? Anybody has a different answer? Okay, so Ranjita has told the right answer that it will be 7380. This is because the paid hours, is somebody speaking because I am not able to, it's not audible. Exactly, perfect, Ajmal. Thank you for that. Paid for absent hours, there is no pay in the question it is mentioned, but for idle time and leave time, they will be paid. So you will be calculating the operators wages. The rate for, can you please mute the mic if you're not speaking during the class? Thank you. So now we know the rate per hour is how much? 800 rupees by 8 hours, correct? So for 7,380 into 100 rupees, what will be the amount for which they are paying the operators? Is everybody clear till here about how I arrived at 738,000? So here it is given in the question that for 8 hours they are paid 800 rupees. So we found it for 1 hour and then we multiply it by 7380. So this is for 7380 hours. Perfect. So now we have the effective working hours and we also have calculated the operating wages. So let's come down to the question solution. This is the, just a minute. Okay, so now let's come back to the question, which is the calculation of the machine hour rate. So what will you do? You will put down all the expenses of that machine shop and you will divide it by the budgeted effective hours. Like I mentioned in the beginning, budgeted overhead cost by budgeted effective hours. Okay, it's very simple. So let's begin with the first one, which we have already calculated, which is the operator's wages. Already calculated here, 738,000. Next, if you go back to the question, it says next one. So this we have utilized and we have calculated. The next is the production bonus is estimated at 15% on the wages. So bonus is 15% into the wages, which is 738,000. Let's calculate that. Okay, everybody can calculate along with me. Then we have the power. Then we have the power. The power is already given in the question to be 80,500. By the way, What do you think? Is this for 6 months I'm calculating or for a year? Can somebody tell me in the chat box? Is the total amount for 6 months or for a year? 6, perfect. Okay. Just for clarity, 6 months. All right. Then we have supervision given already at 33,000. Then we have light, which is given at 12,000. Then we have repairs. Now, repairs is given for the whole year. So how is the calculation? 3% into the cost of the machine, which is 8 lakhs into 0, or you can just say divided by 2, correct? Or let me say into 1 by 0.5, which is half, because I'm doing it for the year. Please let me know if somebody did not understand the calculation, right? 8 lakhs into 3% divided by 2, 12,000. Then we have insurance, which comes to 40,000 into 0.5, again for half a year, which will be sorry about that, 40,000 divided by 2 is 20,000. Depreciation is given to be 10%. So 10% into 8 lakhs into 0.5 into 10% into 0.5. Oops, sorry, I'm so sorry. 40,000. Sundry expenses, 12,000 divided by 2 for the year. So that's 12,000. 2. And there is one more expense, management expense. 54,530 divided by 2, which is 54,530 divided by 2. So this will help us arrive at total cost of 10,79,465. Has everybody arrived at this cost? Okay. How about others? Thank you, Ranjita. What about the others? Okay, great. Thank you, Anjali. So what is the next step? Tell me what would be the next step. Can you tell me in the chat box what would be the next step? Now that we have the total cost, total budgeted overhead cost, what would be the next step? What is the question asking us to calculate? Machine hours. Perfect. So do you think we already have the machine hours, Ranjita? Correct, machine hour rate. So what is the hours I will be using in this question? Perfect. How about the others? And why am I using 7,200? Perfect. Effective hours. So overhead cost by effective hours, which is 10,70,000 divided by 7,200, which is 149.9. Is everybody clear? Has everybody followed the question till here? Machine hour rate, has everybody been able to calculate? Okay, Ajmal, what happened? What is the question? What is the doubt? Okay. Do you want me to repeat machine hour rate? Okay. Machine hour rate is your, if you see, the first thing I typed was machine hour rate is your budgeted overhead cost divided by budgeted effective hours, right? This whole process that we did of calculating the cost was the total budgeted overhead cost that we have calculated. So 10,79,465 is our overhead cost. Okay. Then we calculated the effective working hours, because only during this time that the machine shop is actually producing. If the workers are sleeping and they are not doing anything, nothing will be produced, right? So we will only consider the effective hours. So when we divide the total budgeted overhead cost by the effective hours, we will get the machine hour rate. Is that clear, Ajmal? Okay. Okay. So shall I proceed, everybody? Why do we multiply absentees leave idle by 6? Is this for one operator? Okay. So in the question, what has been given is the normal available hours per month. Naturally, normal available hours. Do you share the solved Excel sheet to his answer? Yes, I will definitely share the solved Excel sheet as well at the end of the session. The unsolved has already been shared with you, so you can try to use that to solve the questions topic. Okay. Now, so somebody asked me a question: why we're multiplying by why we're multiplying by 6? So here it's given the available hours per month. So available hours per month is what is available to one operator. When you multiply it by 6, because 6 people are working, right, at one time, so you will have more hours available with you. So that is why we have to multiply it with 6 operators, so that you get the total available hours in that machine shop. Is that clear, Shafia? Let me know if it's clear. Yeah, it's clear? Okay, great. So we'll do one more question and then we'll take a quick 5-minute break. Yeah. So let's look at the next question. Okay. So to read the question, you can emphasize more on the yellow highlighted figures in the question, because that's what's important. It's a pretty long question, but if you focus on what's needed in the question, it makes it easier for you. So let's begin. A factory has 3 production departments. Okay, 3 production departments, namely machining department, assembly department, and the packing department. The policy of the factory is to recover the production overheads of the entire factory by adopting a single blanket rate based on the percentage of total factory overheads to total factory wages. So this is something that's important, because this is giving you the overhead rate. How is the overhead rate calculated? Overhead rate is calculated as a percentage of the total factory overheads divided by the total factory wages. In the previous question, how did we do it? Budgeted overhead machine cost by effective hours. But here they're already saying that no, we don't follow that method. We use another method, which is giving the percentage of the total factory overheads by the total factory wages. So that's how they calculate their single predetermined overhead rate. Okay. Now the next thing that is available is that they have given the budgeted costs and the budgeted hours along with the actual cost and the actual hours. So if you see, they've given 2 types of hours. One is machine hours and one is direct labor hours. So let me ask you a question here itself. For machining department, what would be more relevant, the machine hours or the labor hours? Can you mention it in the chat box? So if you remember in the previous session, we had spoken about absorption rate, right? And how we use like labor hours or machine hours or etc. to absorb that particular cost. So what hours would be, Khatija has mentioned machine hours. Great. How about the others? What do you think? Will we use machine hours or direct labor hours? Machine hours, great. I need more answers. Thank you, Fawaz. Thank you, Ranjita. Okay, great. So machine hours would be more relevant. So that's what I have highlighted here. For assembly department, What do you think? Machine hours or labor hours? So remember, in an assembly department, you'll be using laborers to assemble the final goods of the product, right? So labor hours, perfect. So it will be the labor hours that will become more effective in the assembly department. And packing department will also have a similar logic. So what do you think? Packing department would be labor hours or machine hours? Labor hours, labor hours, labor hours. Great. Love it. Okay, great. So everybody has understood the concept of the more relevant basis, right? Allocation basis. So let's proceed to the next slide. So this is the detail that is, so if you see, these costs have been given for the total department. Now, next slide, we have the cost only for a particular job. So there are multiple jobs that each department is working on, right? So one particular job, number CW7083, for the month, this is what has happened. Machining department has taken a total of 1,200 direct materials, 240 of direct wages, 60 hours, 60 rupees of direct labors, 60 hours of direct labor hours, and 180 hours of machine hours. Anyway, this will be irrelevant because we just need the machine hours for machining department. Then for the assembly department, we have 600 for direct material, 360 for direct wages, 120 hours of labor hours, 30 of machine hours, and so on and so forth. So I have highlighted what is relevant here, right? Labor hours for assembly and packing department and machine hours for the machining department. The factory adds 30% on the factory cost to cover the admin and the selling overheads and the profit. So it's very simple. You take the direct material, direct wages, give it a 30% markup, and you will arrive at your selling price, correct? No complicated calculations here. A lump sum 30% inflation. What is required to be calculated? Compute the overhead absorption rate and determine the selling price for that job 7083. Suggest any suitable alternate methods of absorption and calculate the overheads rate. Determine the selling price for that overhead rate and calculate the department-wise and total under or over recovery of overheads based on the company's current policy. So now let's go one by one. The first question is the overhead absorption rate for and the selling price for the job number CW7083. So how do you think we can proceed with the answer? So we need to calculate the overhead absorption rate, right? Now the question itself has given that how they are absorbing. We are doing a percentage of the total factory overheads divided by the total factory wages. Now, since this is an overhead rate, do you think the predetermined rate is going to be calculated on the budgeted amounts or the actual amounts? Can somebody tell it to me in the chat box? To calculate the overhead rate, we are asked to divide the total factory overheads by the total factory wages. Do you think we will be using the budgeted amounts here or the actual amounts here? Please let me know in the chat box. Atira says budgeted. Okay. How about the others? Anyone else? How about the others? Okay. So Zatira rightly mentioned, we will always use the budgeted hours and the budgeted cost for our overhead rate. We will never use the actual because that is what we'll get to know later on. When we absorb the cost, we will use the actuals. But when we calculate the predetermined rate to absorb it, we will always calculate it on the budgeted. So Athena and Anjali have rightly mentioned budgeted. So we will use the budgeted factory overheads divided by the budgeted factory wages. So let's calculate. So like you can see, I have mentioned it is always on budgeted. Overhead absorption rate will always be on budgeted. So let's begin to find out what is our total factory overheads and total direct wages. So for the machining, these are our departments. So machining department has a budgeted factory overheads, which is given in the question to be 3,60,000 and budgeted direct wages to be 80,000 rupees. Assembly department is 1,40,000 and 3,50,000 rupees. And packing department is 1,25,000 and 70,000 rupees. Right? So this gives me a total cost of 6,25,000 and a total of 5 lakh here. Right? So now, what is the overhead rate? It is given to be total factory overheads divided by total direct wages. So that will be equal to 6,25,000 divided by 5 lakh. It will give me 1.25 times the direct wages, or in other words, 125% of the direct wages. So this is how I will be absorbing my overhead cost. Is everybody clear about this calculation so far? Please let me know in the comments so that I can proceed. Clear. How about the others? Can the others let me know where they are stuck, what they want me to repeat? Okay, thank you, Atira and Anjali. How about the others? Clear? Clear. Okay, great. So now let's move ahead and calculate the selling price, because the first part was the overhead rate. The second part was the selling price. Selling price is pretty simple. We know we have the particulars and we have the amount. The particulars is already given to be the direct material. So in the question for the three departments, for the three machining, assembly and Ranjita, assembly, budget, direct wages. Or Ranjita, do you have a doubt? Yes, tell me. The assembly direct wages. Is that your doubt? The amount is given to be 3,50,000, right, in the question. And I have taken 3,50,000. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so coming back to the calculation of the selling price, the first part is the direct materials. The direct materials is given to be 1,200 rupees plus 600 plus 300. So that will give me 2,100 rupees. Then we have the direct wages, which is given to be 240 plus 360 plus 60 rupees, which is 660 rupees. Then we have the overheads. Here we have calculated as 1.25 times the direct wages. So 1.25 into 660, it is 825. So this is how we have absorbed the overheads into the cost of the product. Then we have the total factory cost. This 3,585. Then we add the markup of 30%, which is 3,585 into 30%. which is 1075. That gives me a final selling price of 3585 plus 1075. Is this clear, everybody? Okay, thank you, Khadija. Thank you, Atira. All clear. Okay, so let's take a quick 5 minute. Actually, no, I'll need a 10-minute break. Is that okay for everybody to come back in a 10-minute
Can
break?
you explain from markup 30%?
Yeah, so the question is already given to say that we need a 30%. So let me go back to the question. Question says factory adds 30% on the factory cost to cover admin cost, selling cost, and the selling cost and the profit. So it's you just take the factory cost, you take a 30% of it, and you just add it to the factory cost. That will give you the selling price.
Okay, ma'am, clear.
Okay, clear. So just give me around 10 minutes. So it's 10, I think it's 9:55, correct? So is it okay if we meet at 10:05, everybody? Then we just have small, yeah, 10:05. Okay. Thank you, everybody. At 10:05, we'll be back. Great. Hello, everybody. Is everybody back? Just waiting for the participants to increase, but I guess that's about it. So we can begin. Yes. Okay, perfect. So let me share my screen. So everybody, we were at the selling price of 4660.5. So everybody had understood this particular calculation of the selling price, right? So let's proceed with the second part of the question, which asks us the various types of calculating, various second, yeah. So the second part of the question asks us alternative methods of absorption of the factory overheads and calculate the overhead recovery rates based on the method so recommended by you. So if you remember when I had initially started the question, I had asked you something called what absorption basis would be the most relevant, machine hours or direct labor hours, correct? So when you look at this information, if the company wasn't following a single blanket rate of percentage of total factory heads divided by total factory wages, the other way of calculating the absorption of the overhead rate would be for each department separately. So for machining department, we can absorb it based on the machine hours. For the assembly department, on the basis of the direct labor hours. For the packing department, based on the direct labor hours. Is everybody following the different types of absorption methods here that we are utilizing? Yes, thank you, Atira. Yes. So based on these hours, so far we have calculated overhead rate on this basis only, right? We take the total overhead cost and we divide it by the rate, the direct labor, the machine hours, effective hours rate, correct? And then we find the predetermined rate. Similarly, here we can take the budgeted cost of machining department and divide it by these budgeted hours and get and arrive at a predetermined absorption rate, right? So let's go to the Excel sheet and see how can we do that. So the first is our machining department. So how can we calculate the machining department? So machining department, we can use it as the factory overheads because that is our overheads, correct? So budgeted factory overheads divided by budgeted machine hours. So if you go back to the question, the budgeted factory overheads is 3,60,000 and the budgeted machine hours is 80,000 hours. Is everybody following till here? So this way, we can get our predetermined or the absorption rate is equal to 3,60,000 divided by 80,000 hours. Is everybody clear till here? Is everybody clear at how we arrived at a different alternative absorption rate for the machining department? For assembly department, again, budgeted factory overheads divided by, what do you think? What would be our base? Can somebody tell me in the chat box? What would be a base here? Labor hours. Perfect. So budgeted labor hours. So that will be 1,40,000 divided by 1 lakh hours. Okay, so that gives us 1.4 per hour. The next is the packing department. Packing department will be budgeted factory overheads divided by, what will it be? Budgeted. And somebody mentioned it in the chat box. Labor hours. Perfect. So that will be equal to 1,25,000 divided by 50,000 labor hours, which is 2.5 per hour. So this is just an alternative method of calculating the overhead changes. So this was what was asked in the second part of the question. Alternate method, and we calculated the other overheads rates as well. The third part of the question is to determine the selling price using these overhead rates that we have calculated in the point number 2 above. So if you look at this question, for this job, we had used the first type, which was 1.25 times the direct wages, correct? Now they're asking us to use these rates to absorb the overheads and not 1.25. So we go back to the overhead summary sheet and we shall calculate the overhead amount. So we have the machining department, we have the assembly department, and we have the packing department, correct? Machining department will use the machine hours. Assembly department will use the direct labor hours. And packing department will use the direct labor hours. Correct? Now, in the question, we already have that machine hours is 180, assembly is 120, and packing is 40. So we will put that down, 180, 120, and 40. Is everybody following? Okay. And what will be the absorption rate? So always remember, this is actual. Okay, because we are absorbing it. So we will always take, these are the actual hours. Now, the rate will be the predetermined rate, which we have. Machining is 4.5. Assembly is 1.4. And packing is 2.5. So what is my overheads now? 180 into 4.5, 120 into 1.4, and 40 into 2.5. So that will give us a total overhead of 1,078 rupees. Everybody clear? Everybody understood till here how we calculated this overhead cost? It should be our total overhead cost based on the revised calculation. All clear, everybody? Okay. So now what will we do? We'll put it into the selling price. So let's take the direct material, given to be 2,100. Direct wages, given to be 660. Overheads, what is it? 1,070 that we just calculated. And that will give us a total factory cost of 3838. Then we have a markup, which will be 3838 into 30%. And we can arrive at the selling price 3838 plus 1151.4. That will give us a selling price of 4989. Everybody clear? The only point was this, that we had to recalculate. Okay, so let's proceed to the fourth part, which is the calculation of under absorption and over absorption of the overheads based on the company's current policy as well as the methods recommended by it. But here it is not for the job, it is for the department. So if you go back to the department, they have given us budgeted and they have given us the actual. So let's look at what is the absorbed amount under the current policy. Current policy is basically the 1.25 times. Yes, Salma? Okay. So current policy is our 1.25 times. So we have our direct wages, which is given to be I'm talking about the actual. Yeah. So we have the direct wages because overheads will be absorbed on the actual wages. We calculated on the budgeted amounts, but we will always absorb it on the actuals. So our actual direct wages is 96,000, 270,000, and 90,000. So let's put that across. 96,000, 270,000, and the packing of 90,000. So what is our overheads at 1.25 times? Equal to into 1.25. Similarly for assembly and packing into 1.25. That will give me a total of 5,70,000 overheads that is absorbed. Now we have the actual overheads in the question. What is that? This is the actual overheads: 3,90,000, 84,000, and 1,35,000. 3,90,000, 84,000, and 1,35,000. That gives us a total of 6,09,000. So here we can see under or over, whatever the difference is. So this is a case of actual is more than absorbed. So what do you think? This is under absorbed or over absorbed? For machining department, this is under absorbed or over absorbed? Let me know in the chat box. Ranjita says under, great. How about the others? If your actual overheads, which has incurred, is more than what you've absorbed, definitely it is what you've absorbed is lesser, right? So it is under absorbed. So that means 2,70,000 is under absorbed. Assembly shows 2,53,500. Do you think this is under absorbed or over absorbed? Assembly. Actual is less than absorption. Over absorbed. Shakya says over. Correct. Correct. Atira over. Correct. How about packing? Under absorbed or over absorbed? Over absorbed. Perfect. So 39,000. Great. Okay. Now the total 1 minute. Packing is over absorbed or under absorbed? Under. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So that means the total amount is, please tell me identity, the under over absorption map. Okay. Pretty simple. How to identify whether it's under absorbed or over absorbed? What is under absorption? So let's say you have actually had a repair expense of 1,000 rupees, but you have absorbed it based on your predetermined rate, 1,000 rupees. So you have to absorb more, right? You have absorbed less. So that becomes an under absorption situation. But let's say if you have lesser repair expense, just had a 500 rupee repair expense, but you absorbed 1,000 rupees. So in this case, you have over absorbed. So you can reduce the cost from your good units by 500 rupees, and this will be over absorbed. Amal Krishna, does this give you a little more clarity on how to identify under absorption and over absorption? Okay. So now we will move to the next method, which is the method on which we have calculated the machining budgeted overhead rate, assembly overhead rate, packing overhead rate, right? So here we will need to take the hours. because we will be absorbing on the basis of actual hours worked. So for machining, we will be taking the machine's actual hours, which is 96,000. For assembly, we'll be taking 90,000 and 60,000. And for assembly, we'll be taking 90,000, and for packing, we'll be taking 60,000, right? So that will be 90,000 and 60,000. Now, we have already calculated our absorption rate. What is it? For machining, it was 4.5. For assembly, it was 1.4. For packing, it was 2.5. So this is our budgeted rate, correct? And this is always our actual rate. Don't forget. Always remember this. So what is your absorbed overhead? 96,000 into 4.5. 4,32,000. Assembly is 1,26,000 and packing is 1,50,000. Are we good so far? What is the actuals? You already have it here. 3,90,000, 84,000 and packing. Okay. So let's calculate under and over absorption. Actual minus absorbed. What do you think? This is over or under? Over absorbed. Perfect, Atira. Because actual is only 3,90,000, but you have ended up absorbing 4,30,000, which is an over absorption case. Assembly 40,000. Do you think it's over or under? How about assembly? Over, great. How about packing? Success is over. Yes. So in this method, everything has become over absorbed, right? Which is depends. So based on your absorption rate, you're absorbing. So one thing you can notice from here is in most of the situation, almost every situation, you would have either over absorbed or under absorbed. You can never actually predict how much overheads you will be incurring. So there will always be an under over, which you need to absorb into good units using a supplementary rate. Are we clear till this part? Is everybody clear with this question? Okay. So the time is 10:30. And we still have two big questions to cover, which I don't know, might take like half an hour to 40 minutes. Is everybody okay with that, or do you want to have a session or at the same time at 8:30 tomorrow? Please let me know. Shall I proceed for another 40 minutes, or do you want me to push this for tomorrow morning or evening? Same time tomorrow. Is that okay, everybody? Or would you like me to finish it right now? Same time tomorrow. Okay, I think everybody is fine with same time tomorrow. Okay, perfect. Is Rizwan on the chat? So anybody else from the Ordile team, just to confirm if the availability is there? Anybody from the order team?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I needed to know if for the same time tomorrow we can
Will be
schedule.
available. Okay, Zoom, whether Zoom available or not.
Yes, 8:30 p.m. tomorrow.
Ma'am, I'll come to you later after a few minutes.
Okay, sure. If
Will
you
you
can.
like me to inform after some time?
Okay, sure. Just because
I'll update to
it's
you, ma'am.
pretty late now, so I don't know if it would be right to extend the class.
Okay.
We
I
can
think
take it.
it's
Just
better to
keep
wind up.
half an hour and to 45 minutes max tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Let me arrange. I'll update to you, ma'am.
Okay, sure. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, please do let me know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.